Hi, everyone. Join me as I interview super interesting people about everything and nothing in a podcast called Not For Everyone. Malcolm Mooney creates worlds with his lyrics, with his poetry, and with his visual art. His music is cosmic, it's spacey, it's political. He makes you think differently. He was in the Krautrock band Can, and he is on many recordings, but my favorite is Monster Movie. I recently saw him in concert with 10th Planet, and it literally blew my brain cells. He is so now. He is so alive. He's an amazing visual artist. You should see his visual art. Please check it out. Malcolm Mooney is the cosmic man.
Club number 2. Action! Ta-da! Thrilled to have you here today.
Thanks, Sheri.
And I think we talked a lot over coffee already.
And we were talking about artists relinquishing, is that a good word, their sort of status as the principal poet, painter, spoken word artist, and making sure that their students would be a good word, or their younger
Adepts?
Adepts, I like that. I will use that. Have a way of bringing themselves to the front, and then the principal artists would be moving to the rear.
Yeah. We were talking about that over croissant and morning coffee. I think it started with us discussing the this poster that's in my kitchen, and it's from 2001, and it's from Poetry Africa, where I was performing, and that was the place where several of the artists that were there at Poetry Africa asked me, why do you write poetry? Why do you write poetry? Why do I write poetry? And if you ask yourself that question, it's a very important development point, because you can answer the usual things. Oh, I write to make sense of my mind, and I write to unsort all of the troubles. I write to express myself, to change the world. There's 100 different reasons why you might write. When I asked myself that question at that time in 2001, I realized that it was all about me. And there was a point, it was a point that I was like, wow. Yes. And when does it become about community and giving voice to other people and making space for other people and not being the head talker? The center, yes, the center of attention. And so everything changed at that point. And that's when I started producing the Calgary Spoken Word Festival. And in doing so, I had to step back. And that was a big deal at first. It wasn't easy because your ego is always, right out front. Moi, moi, moi. Moi, moi, moi. It's all about moi, moi, moi. And then suddenly everything's changing, and it's about other people as well, and it's about other voices, and it's about stepping back.
Letting others come forward. I've never had that question posed to me about why I was writing or why I wrote poetry. In fact, we have a book coming out, and it's called The Damdemics. And there's a poem in the book, and it's called The Shelled Creatures. And it was written in the 1960, 63. Well, the reason I'm bringing that up is because I just started writing about my experience, and I didn't. It wasn't to be for anybody else. It was just for me to read it and see where it would take me. But then later on, I realized that these poems that I started writing could be music, could be lyrics, and I never thought of that. I never had any idea about that. But I want to go back to what you were saying about not being the center, and the idea. Well, first of all, you have to have more than one to not be the center, because if you only by yourself, you are the center. But all of a sudden, I realized, oh, maybe other people could be involved in this while I'm reading my poetry, which shortly became lyrics, and it becomes a mechanism for the drummer to keep a beat to which the way that this poem is running. It becomes a way for the guitar player to find a melody based on what the poem is saying, and also I guess the keyboard could do the same thing as the guitar. But these things they start to speak to each other, which means that you're not the center any longer. You're in a group, and each one of that group in that situation becomes, they could solo or they can participate as a group. Within the group, there's a time frame, and the person with the voice, the vocal, can either work with that time frame or can go elsewhere, can become a completely solo operation within this structure. And I think that lets itself, you become center again that way. But I believe every individual in this group can be a center, like the solar system. Yeah.
Very much so, and it is intergalactic when there are many voices together playing, responding, backing, holding space, turning, and as soon as you get that interplay is when the real magic as an artist and as certainly as a poet, when everything starts opening. And I think that's true of giving back to the community as well. It's almost like a slow-mo jam where you're like making an offer and then someone or some group of people accept your offer and they send something back. And
is it call and response?
Call and response almost. Mm-hmm. And there's this flow that starts happening. And you are then in the motion of continually learning.
Yes.
And as an artist, I think is the worst thing that can happen and the most dangerous thing can happen is if you stop learning and if you think you know something. Because if you think you know something, it's all going to go sideways for sure. And it's sort of like if you do something for the money, it's not going to go well. It's just there's certain rules that I've learned.
And that's interesting for me now because I have a show coming up in New York, and I'm not doing it for the money as such. I didn't get involved. In fact, I didn't even get involved in the arts for the money. Like the whole story about the music side of me was all by accident. In terms of, I was in Europe and didn't have a penny. Well, I had enough to get on a train, but the idea was I was going to go to Cologne to be in a studio. But I didn't know the studio was not an art studio. It was a music studio.
Oh. Of course.
And so, studio. Atelier, and then studio. Mm-hmm. And then, what I think I might get off track. I don't want to get off track here. But the idea of writing poems became an intricate part of learning something about being involved with music. Now and then we went to that already about the center, but no one asked me throughout my whole beginnings, why do you want to do this? And that's a wonderful question. I'm going to start asking my students, why do you want to paint, or why do you want to be in the music business? Play an instrument. As I said before, I was going to say something about being the truth or the lie. I used to work for an artist, and he always used to say to me, "What do you want from me, the truth or the lie?" And I said, "Well, it doesn't make any difference which one. Just I'm going to tell you the lie anyway." So anyway, so I started to think about that. I started to think about why. But I'm going to skip. Community is key, and I think the thing about being center, though, people come to you because you are the center. As they think you are the center.
Right.
It's their perception.
That's right.
And they'll gravitate toward you, mm-hmm. and then it really becomes your job to not be the center. It becomes your job to create a center in every one of them, for every one of them to become a center. And that's where all this, all that feedback, critical feedback, positive feedback, all that comes from them becoming center. And the learning that you find, the things you think you know, but you'll listen to them and find out new ways of thinking, new ways of doing your own poetry, or doing whatever you're doing, your painting, doing your music. It's quite you did say it. It's a give and take. It's something where you reach out, and they'll reach. They'll I don't know if it's reach back. It's you'll give, and what's that word? Give and you receive, and it's more satisfaction comes from you not being the center, and what you're giving out is coming back 1,000-fold.
I agree, and it's interesting to note that it is about you. Know thyself. It is about you. Yeah. But it isn't. And as soon as you get to know thyself, you realize the most important thing you can do is not know thyself, or know thyself through and with others. And not to put yourself first in the sense of know thyself. It's and it took me a while to learn that, but I hadn't been asked the question. I started doing what I was doing, and I was at a point of survival, and I just wanted to be. I was like an interloper, and I wanted to just pull it off, and I wanted people to think that I was an artist no matter what. I can do this, and then people started allowing me to pretend that I was an artist. I thought this was so great. Oh my gosh, I'm pulling this off. And so for the first at least 20 years, I was just pulling it off and trying to get away with it. And I was like a spy trying to get away with a covert operation, which, and then at the Poetry Africa thing, when I got asked that question, everything snapped because I had to really think about it in a meaningful way.
What time frame in your life was this?
Well, it was in 2001.
So it's like, okay.
And my career was doing quite well at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was invited to a lot of places. I was, when I got invited to Poetry Africa, I happened to be in Montreal at that time at the playwright workshop, and it was just boom, boom, boom. And I just went, yes, I love this life. And there has to be something that I'm missing. And I felt like something was missing for me. And it wasn't for the game that I was playing to pretend or make up or, pulling it off in the world and trying to, just pull it off and see if people, would buy into my lie.
So the interesting thought that came to me about what you're saying, trying to pull it off, is that you were pulling it off, but you were pulling it off yourself. You actually you thought you were pulling it off to the audience, but you were pulling it off from yourself. It's almost like that. What's that? The butterfly. It's like you pulled it off so well. You pulled that you found yourself as that person. You found yourself as the poet. I mean, it's amazing what you said, because I can see this. I can, it's like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make sure they may not know this, but I'm going to pull this off. And all of a sudden you come to the point where, oh shit, I am a poet.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think I accomplished this, and
right, nobody knew it, but you thought you were pulling it off on them, but no, it was you. And you find, and I think this is just a truism, because you find yourself, same thing in my case. I was at the point in the music, not my music, but in being with this band.
Is that Can?
Can. I had no idea. First of all, I thought I was going to be at an art studio. And then second, they said, okay, Malcolm, you'll get up there. Here's a mic. And all I knew to do is just start, whatever, I'll make up some lyrics. And just start singing. Shouting, singing, whatever the hell I was doing. And then I realized all of a sudden, wait a minute. Let me hear that again and play it back. Oh. It does work, doesn't it? It is working. But I had no idea. This is 4 or 5 Germans and me, and every now and then they'd say something to each other. I had no idea what was being said. Only thing I could gather was they liked what was going on. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, if that's the case. And it was I'm 26 years old, and I always wanted to do this, but I always wanted to, church choirs I did it, and all, a group I played with I did, but I never thought of it as it's strange being somewhere else where no one speaks. Well, they all speak English, but you don't speak German.
Right.
And it's amazing to and you're giving. You're all you're doing is giving. You can't. I mean, I think you want to be part of this, so you give. And you're hoping. Well, I don't even know if you're hoping. You're giving, and all of a sudden somebody actually likes what you're doing. There's. I was saying to you that a little bit before about the art, and Sheri-D Wilson said, Malcolm, these so-called, no, I shouldn't say so-called, the students, they really appreciate what you're doing for them. Yeah. And I can't blush, I try. put my hand up and maybe turn around. But it's joyful. It's a feeling of complete joy that some folks will actually, as I said before, we said they come to you and you are their center, and you're trying to make them their center. You're trying to give them this center. It's beautiful, beautiful feeling.
And that said, when you did the Damdemics series, I fell in love with your Damdemics.
Yeah.
And I think of the first time that I saw the Damdemics, they were presented with a number of your students, and your students had their art on the walls as well. And I was so struck with your openness to share space.
Oh, fantastic.
And I think that's what you've done as an artist. And so you do have people who work with you, who are learning from you, who you learn from, who are also showing their work. And I think it does say something about you as an artist, and it says something for them, because it's about sharing then. It's a bigger picture than just, here's me, moi, moi, moi. And it takes it out of the moi, 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 and puts it into the we. And it's just such a beautiful thing. Yeah. And I saw you recently at Sled Island. Blew me away. I have to say, I was sitting there in the balcony listening to you and your band and your lyrics, the way you were working with sound and words and the band and the jazz and the rhythms and the total fluid connection. And I came up to you and I was like, wow, Malcolm, how much rehearsal did you have? Yeah. And you were like,
we had I rented National Music Center for 2 days. So we had 16 hours of rehearsal and recording at the same time. And a number of the musicians, which is Alex Marcello on keyboard, New York, Ava Mendoza on guitar, New York, Steve Shelley on drums, New York, Peter Conheim, Berkeley, California, Richmond, California, Daniel Moreno, California, Northern California. And that's my main crew. Then Devin Waldman on saxophone, New York. Then the other two players that were new for me, I played with them before, but they were new for this band, which was Jairus Sharif on saxophone and on percussion, Luis Tovar. The interesting thing about the group is the keyboard player, who we've been playing together for years now. He is my main go-to person in the group, because I don't speak notation. Alex studied with Yosef Lateef, accomplished musician. This past December 2023, he was first chair at the Metropolitan Opera for on piano. And I've said to him, man, Alex, I don't know if I can afford you anymore. I don't pay that kind of money, I don't get that kind of money. And he said, well, as long as Joe is making brisket, I'll be there. So that kept you. But he's the person I go to when we were at the National Music Center. He is the person I go to explain the idea to the band. This time, it didn't work. One time we were trying to do it because the way this was set up, I wanted the band. I had heard Jairus Sharif play a tune. Oh God, Humility. He has a tune called Humility, and I heard him play this at a gig. It's on record also. And I said, what I want is Jairus to start off, and I want certain things to happen when he starts off. And the band members, one of the band members, I don't understand what he's talking about. And Alex is trying to explain it to him. So finally I realized it's going to have to take my voice to actually make this work. So I jumped in and started screaming. And I said, you got to do this, you got to do. And finally it was, okay, you understand. But all of these players are accomplished musicians. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they are the hub. They're my. I said to them at a rehearsal, I said, maybe I don't need to be there. You guys just go on and play. But they listen, and I listen to them. And I think that's what makes it work. It's not about anybody taking the lead. It's like, if you want to make a pie, there are ingredients. You want to make a successful pie, you might have to follow some instructions. You might have to get. They cook perfectly. They are wonderful band members. And that's why it worked. When I turn to my right on stage and I see Devin dancing like he's like, that's an inspiration for me. It's working, He's in it. He's in the music. I turned to my left and there's Ava, and Ava did a piece in that show. Oh God, is it the wheels are turning? No, not the wheels are turning. Well, there's a piece in the show that I wrote the lyric to it, and when I think of you, I smile. I think is the name of the piece, and I tried to do, when I first wrote that lyric, I tried to sing the song, and I could not do it, and so I was with a band that I called Malcolm, Mooney and the 10th Planet in Berkeley, California, and I told Mark Weinstein, I said, can you find somebody to sing this song? Because I just got, forget it. So there's a woman who I believe she was the backup singer for the Johnny Otis band. And Heather Marie, she beautifully done, wonderfully done. But then in rehearsal, I asked Ava to do it. It was beautiful. So, and that to me, I just write the lyric. She does, somebody else does the sound, does the vocal. It puts me back. I can go behind them, and when they're doing, if they say, "When I think of you," I can go behind them when I think of you. So they become center, I become in the background. It's a wonderful feeling. This whole, this life that was given. It's, I was invited by a young woman here in Calgary to do some spoken word once, and twice, 3 times. Fantastic. And she was the center, and yet let me have the center. Man, let me prance around. Cheers. Yes. I've told people say, well, where are you from, Malcolm? And I said, I'm from Lethbridge. And I said, it sounds like you're from New York or someplace. I said, no, I went to school there. I'm from Lethbridge.
Where are you from?
Lethbridge. I'm going to pull that one off.
Yeah, you really are.
I am, I think if you look on Facebook, I'm from New York, but originally small town, actually 4th largest town in the state, Yonkers. When Hello Dolly said, the city of gracious living. Oh, she was lying.
But everyone knows. When I found out you were from Yonkers. I only have to say it as Yonkers. I immediately thought of Hello Dolly.
Yeah.
And I was also filled with that kind of mystery because there's there's a feeling about Yonkers.
Yeah, well, that feeling only comes from the Hello Dolly.
But it also rhymes with bonkers.
Yeah, what is actually Jonkers. It was actually J, a Dutch name, meaning young lords.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it was settled by the Dutch, 1600s, I think. Okay.
So, what's up next for you? Like, I know you have, it seems like you have a show in New York, you have recordings, you seem to have this Damdemic book, you seem to have a lot of projects. There's been this amazing renaissance of Malcolm Mooney, and which is why I made sure I got a couple of those paintings now. I'm just saying. I'm investing in my future.
Thank you for investing. I mean, I'm glad you own them.
I'll never own them. You'll always own them. I'm just taking care of them for a while, and I get to enjoy looking at their beauty and their quirkiness and their creativity and their otherworldliness.
Well, the Damdemics, I guess, I don't know if you mentioned the Damdemics. And the Damdemics, that's the beginning of COVID. And we were supposed to go to New York. I was supposed to do a residency in Brooklyn. And my manager said, Malcolm, why don't you do some drawings for T-shirts or something, so we can sell posters. And then New York called and said, we've canceled the whole thing. And I'm in the midst of drawing. And I couldn't stop. I really couldn't. And I came up with this crazy, we call them the Damdemics. That's what they did, the Damdemics. And somebody said, what the hell is the damn the pandemic? I said, that's a combination of words, Damdemics. I said, that'll work. And the interesting thing about just the wording now, I'm thinking almost about just coming down the hill skiing. The thing about this to me is the use of words. I mean, I don't understand why B-O-Y-Z can't be boys. That's everybody. I mean, these are kids. They actually are using the language, and I start thinking that there is no, because I ask my students, I said, please write about your work. And I used to, Clement Greenberg, I used to read Clement Greenberg's criticisms about the abstract expressionist movement. I had no idea what he was saying. No. I'm reading along. Oh yeah, okay, Clement, you just keep on writing, buddy. And I said to myself, well, why not write whatever you think you can, write it? And I found, and I was talking to one of the musicians, Jairus, and we were talking about sometimes the interviewer, becomes more important. They're writing something about you. What would you call that? The written interviewer is writing, and they're writing something. Not that it's supposed to be they're interviewing you, but they're really writing something for themselves, about themselves mostly. You're like the crumbles from the bacon, and they're the bacon, and it was kind of funny listening to him say this, because I start to believe this more and more. Not with us, but I'm just saying with this thing about, they asked me the same questions. They must have read the last interview by the last guy, but they asked the same question. So that's why I said before, that's why I want the truth of the lie. Well, how did you start the music business, Malcolm? Well, I started with a tuna fish sandwich. And I was standing around eating a tuna fish sandwich. It fell out of my mouth and made a sound. And then I started singing. Some stupid shit like that. But, I didn't know about you. And when I first heard you do some poetry, I said, oh, she's she's on it. She might be trying to fool somebody. But, but she's on it. She's on it. You know, it's and Devin's aunt, is that his aunt? You know, you start to realize, learn about other
Anne Waldman.
Yeah, and you start to realize all of these wonderful artists you never knew about, and that are so important to this whole manifestation of the vocal, of the wording, of the timing of what they've been seeing, what they've experienced. It's
well, it is. It all happens in the same, I guess, environment. We're all in the environment, and we're putting in these sounds and these words, and everybody's putting in these words and these sounds, and there's one poem and another poem, and those poems are linked, and we're all putting in those words and those sounds, and it's all one poem. And so Anne Waldman's poem is Malcolm Mooney's poem, is Quincy Troop's poem, is Sheri-D Wilson's poem, is Micheline Mailer's poem, and we're just stirring that sound pot, and we're sending that poetry out, up, and down, and as soon as I came to the point that I started the festival, and then I started, giving space to other people, is when that notion that I had heard about it in Europa and kind of went, oh my God, like, and then realized that that's truly what's happening. That's truly what's happening. And so that joining together of our sounds and our words and our ideas is the circle that I always want to live within. And that said, there is, for me, still an idea of intellectual property. Okay. Of not taking someone else's words unless I acknowledge them, not taking someone else's sounds even, and so that my sounds are joining with their sounds, and there is still the individuality of the sound. And maybe I'm extending myself in my moi-moi-moi-ness too far, and wanting to moi is as part of the we. But I'm still living in that hemisphere, and perhaps maybe one day I'll be able to let go of that even further. But I still think that an artist is sitting there reading, contemplating, researching, being inspired, having to go through that very difficult metamorphosis in order to create a piece. And so I always acknowledge the individuality of that as well.
So it's not taking something that doesn't belong to you. It belongs.
That's right.
It belongs to you. And you made me think of something well, in the art it was they renamed it appropriation, which was nothing but a lie. It wasn't
misappropriation.
Well, no, they would say that. That too. They would say that. That was appropriated from someone, or not. They wouldn't even say it was from someone. They just said, well. And my thought, I gotta remember. I don't remember this poet's name. It's a male. He was at your festival, and I think he was at your festival when Joe was head of the WordFest, and he said he was going to the States, driving to the States. I was trying to tell somebody this the other day. He was driving to the States, and he gets to the border, and the border people ask him, "Well, what are you coming here for?" And he says, "Poetry." And the customs goes, "Poultry? You come here to do what's this about poultry?" I said, "This is perfect." from poetry to poultry. This is perfect. A mistake. Where are the chickens? But I forget his name. Shane Coyson.
Oh, Shane Coyson. Oh, okay.
Voice from somewhere.
Shane Coyson.
Yeah. And that to me was like, this guy at the border has another concept about what this gentleman just said. And he's thinking livestock, and my friend is thinking about words, you know. So this is wonderful, you know.
Wow.
I'm very excited about the future. In a certain way, it's like you were asking me. I have a show in New York coming up at the Jack Tilton Gallery on September 4th, and I have 14 paintings there. And I was kind of nervous. I mean, this is my second show in New York in the last 3 years. And the first show was with Ulrich Gallery. There was a little bit of a friction about going to this next gallery. But they said Ulrich thought it was a good move. But I'm thinking, and I told a lot of people anyway, that at my age, I don't think that I should be giving up. Is that the right word? I don't think I should be affiliated with any one person. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. And when someone says, well, we're trying to build your reputation, and that's why we have the prices like this, I'm not sure that at this age that I need building right now. If the gallery says they're going to charge more for the works now, that's up to them. And if they can, if it works, okay. If it doesn't, okay also. You know, I know this gallery from a long time ago, because I remember going to the gallery periodically when Jack Tilton was alive. And the artist I worked for, Ed Clark, used to have shows there, and he introduced me to Tilton. And I've been excited about going there and seeing the artists they've had.
Well, what I think is so amazing is that you are having this renaissance, and you mentioned your age. You are older, and it's.
What did I say? What age did I say?
You said you didn't say how old you were.
Oh, good.
No, you didn't slip and say that. No, there was none of that. You were totally fine. You were in it, and you didn't slip it out. Back to the truth and
lie.
Well, maybe it's truth and untruth.
Yeah.
If something is untrue, it doesn't necessarily make it a lie.
I misspoke.
Lies.
Lie number one. I'm 25.
Oh, and I'm 28. The beard might fool you. When my dad came along, he and my mother, they were 16 when they got married.
Oh, I have a degree, a PhD in propaganda.
Oh, and my degree is in salamanders.
Oh yes, salamanders. Well, salamanders are very, very mystical creatures. They have a lot of mystical properties. I once created a special salamander soup.
and yes, I've caught salamanders, near the Untermeyer Estates, right below the Untermeyer Estates. There's a little stream that comes down from the Untermeyer Estates, and the little salamanders be, in the water, and I can remember thinking that salamander soup might be a good idea. Never tried it though.
They say that when you eat something like, let's say, crocodile stew, that you take on the properties of the crocodile. And when I made the salamander soup, I took on the properties of the actual salamander.
And were these properties near the water, these properties that you're talking about?
Yes, and it was just after I got my degree from MIT. In their first group of people, I know I look a lot younger, but in their first group of people ever to graduate from MIT.
And that degree was in what again?
Well, I have several degrees.
The propaganda degree and the salamander soup.
The propaganda degree took me many years to get, but it was much later than the MIT.
And that was the gander.
That was the gander.
That's right. Because I remember Gandorf. What was that episode of Gandorf? But he wandered and gandered. But I wonder more about the properties. Were they large properties of salamanders that owned these properties?
They were large landowners. They were like, I'm telling you, each one was like, they were like giants.
Yes,
they were like 350 pounds each, the landowners. And they were like these huge giants. And in fact, recently I saw a clip where someone found one of their footprints, and it was apparently made in clay, and it was just huge, and it was definitely the footprint of
the salamander family.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about them when I was touring the islands, Long Islands, and on the very outskirts from New York, and there were these salamander family owning these properties, these large waterfront properties, because they like to be near the water.
Right. Were they breeding them for jewelry?
The little ones, the smaller salamanders became jewelry, but the larger salamanders, who were the property people,
Right. Yeah.
But they were creating these what do they call them? These like morphing. They were making salamanders out of salamanders out of salamanders. It's like, it's
like meta salamanders.
Yes, and I think
salamanders inside of salamanders.
It was quite the whole area on the shore. You couldn't even get to the water because the properties the salamanders own, they're private.
Wow, they were breeding within breeding so that no one else could enter.
No one else.
Right.
And that's why I decided to go back to Yale to get more information about this civilization called the salamandric civilization.
Right. No, I've heard so little about that, and yet it's been on my radar for ages.
Yeah.
Can you speak a bit more about that, please? For me, for my dog, and for my family of salamanders, because we have to know our history.
I'm sorry I'm laughing, but because it's so dear to me, this whole thing about the salamanders. I mean, where I came from. In New York, there's a place called Salamander Park. And they dug up, they found the bones of the great Daha salamander. And it was 30 feet long and had this very strange coat, almost like a robe coat. It wasn't the green, it was the rose-colored back. Oh, it was, but they found it. It was, and that's why they called it Salamander Park. You know, it was.
Wow.
I studied for many years at Yale, trying to find out exactly what the origin of this. I think they claimed it was called the Cape salamander, Cape salamander.
I think, yes, I think that's correct. And how has that influenced your work?
Well, the first paper, I'm crying because it's such a wonderful feeling to know that my first paper was about the Cape salamander, which I learned at Yale.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that it came, actually they thought it came from outer space. They thought it actually had, what do they call it, meteorite, inside of the meteorite that hit the Earth. This salamander came from this.
From the dust of the meteorite, which probably, picked up the liquids of the earth, and within those liquids, the water of the earth, it probably, created.
That's what they've told me. They said that's those enzymes and those, and actually the fact that the friction from this meteor hitting the earth, the heat, caused this body to appear, this body to come forth.
It's amazing, from the Egyptian deserts, was it? I mean, I heard that as well. Like that there was a theory about the salamander, the Egyptian deserts, the heat, the water. It's fascinating information, and that's why salamanders are the amazing mystical creatures that they are, because they are the creatures that come from the stars, from the intergalactic ocean up there. I'm fascinated by it. Well, and the fact that you're an expert and that you have a degree in this from Yale goes to prove that it's absolutely true, and that everything that you put your stamp on because of that degree.
When you didn't realize it, that at MIT, a lot of people I've discovered keep talking about outer space, but they haven't realized that this planet is in outer space. We are in outer space. We don't have to go any further. If we didn't have gravity, we'd all be little satellites. This is causing people to think, oh, we're going to the moon. No, we are there. We are a planet. Nobody thinks about this. The salamanders inhabited this planet, but nobody thinks that we're really in outer space. If they were able to the gravity was able to release us, you'd just be floating around in outer space. You'd be like a planet. Nobody sees this. Salamanders do. Salamanders realize these folks that have taken over the earth, they don't realize they're in outer space.
This is very, very interesting information. And I thank you for sharing it. I know that you're very exclusive about who you get interviewed by for this information. And so thank you for sharing it with me and with NAUT For Everyone today.
This has been an absolute pleasure. I mean,
No, the pleasure is all mine.
No, mine. No, mine.
I have to
Mine.
say, I am so thankful for you being here, and for everything that you have shared with. I thank you sincerely,
Sheri-D,
Malcolm.
thank you.
Love. Later agitator, in a while bibliophile.